Welcome back, Namibia. It's Mark Joseph here and Hermine Elago. We're back together again, and I'm so excited. We're going to have another little chat with Hermine. But before we do that, how was your weekend? I hope you had a good weekend. Mine, I had a funeral for our CEO's mom who passed on from the virus. Our CEO recovered. I have another colleague that's too sick. She can't work. I'm covering for her. We've got colleagues who are sick. We've got a lot of people that are very, very, very sick at this time. And it's so close to home. It's actually crazy. So there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of panic. But there's hope. And there is compassion. And there's kindness. And there's a lot of qualities that we are able to cultivate. And it's difficult to cultivate them when we are ourselves fearful and stricken with grief. So we can do something about that. We're going to just settle in with 3 deep breaths. And from a place of breath and a place of moving into our body, we can come back at this life with some resilience, and from a place of stress. I mean, a place of resilience. Yeah, not from a place of stress. Tomorrow we will be exploring the breath. And with me, we'll be looking at different breathing techniques, how to calm our body, how to calm our mind, because the breath is a very powerful weapon against stress and worry and anxiety. So let's just do 3 simple deep breaths together. All right, breathe with me, breathing in through the nose, nice and slow. And then slowly exhaling it out the nostrils. Breathing in again, nice and slow. And then slowly release out the nostrils. And then breathing in again, last one, through the nose. And just filling those lungs, making full, opening the mouth, and then gently sigh that breath out. Taking a moment, and if you like, you can close your eyes and just checking in where you are at today. Are you ready to conquer the day, take on the big assignments, make big changes? Or are you perhaps just struggling to put one foot in front of the other? And then when you're ready, just blinking the eyes open. So checking in where you are at today. Recently, I was on a big exco session with a huge mining company, and I was doing a goal setting session, intentions, resolutions, whatever you want to call it, and speaking to each exco member and finding out, like, well, what are your goals? What are your immediate intentions? You're all in a huge, big leadership role. Surely this is something that you're thinking about for your team, for your organization. And there were a few that said, yeah, well, these are my plans. This is my vision. And they were quite hopeful and quite enthusiastic. But I was quite surprised at the response of a few of them that said, I am just not even able to think about lunch. I'm just trying to focus on putting one foot in front of the other right now. My brain feels completely like fogged, like completely misty, like clouded with grief. I just can't even think clearly. And these are divisions where they've experienced a lot of colleagues and family members that they've lost and are completely overwhelmed. So for those of you that are on the call, maybe if you'd like to put in the Q&A, where are you today? Are you out there chasing your goals and your dreams, or are you just trying to put one foot in front of the other? One foot in front of the other, or are you chasing your goals and your dreams? Where are you at? There's either two things, and if you're just putting one foot in front of the other, then that is enough. And remember, you are enough if that's the case. Remember that your best doesn't mean pushing yourself to breaking point. Your best means the best you can do while being the best you. Get enough sleep, give yourself breaks, listen to your limits. Your best is better when you're happy and you're healthy. And your best can change too. Your best is different on every day. I mean, it's not always the same, right? So just keep that in mind. So as I mentioned, Hermine Elago is back with us, our beautiful storyteller. She's transformed her life. She's transformed her body. And I'm just so happy to have her back. She turned her pain into her power, as we've said before. And Hermine, how are you today?
You know, Mark, it's interesting that you said that your best can change from day to day. I remember on Friday, I felt so low, and I've learned how to just bear that sacred witness to myself and to allow myself that grace and that compassion to sit in the discomfort of whatever emotion comes up. And on Friday, it was just sadness and it was overwhelmed. So at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I packed up everything. I was in bed by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I felt no shame and no guilt about it. And I just allowed my emotions to do what they do. There are messengers, and mine were just telling me that this collective grief and pain is a lot, and I just needed to rest and restore and go back to my place of refuge, which is my inner world. And that's what I did. Now, today, on the other hand, I feel empowered to do what I came here to do, which is to tell stories of healing and of overcoming. So Friday, it was be in bed at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and today it's show up and be a light and help others, you know, where you can, as best as you can, to also find meaning and purpose in all this chaos right now. So that's how I am today.
It always makes me happy when I hear how people look after themselves. I remember I was the managing director of an advertising agency a few years ago, and sometimes I'd look at an employee of mine and they didn't look well, or they looked sad, and I'd say, why don't you take the rest of the day off, or go and lie down on the couch and I'll make you a cup of tea or something like that, you know. But for me, I would push myself 7 days a week, wouldn't lie on the couch, wouldn't go home. And I thought to myself, you're so nice to everybody else, but you're really not very nice to yourself. So to practice self-compassion and self-kindness is actually very, very rare, because we're so busy putting the oxygen mask on everybody else, but forgetting ourselves. And that is actually the most important person. I mean, you know, you look like a lady that is, you've obviously done a lot of work on yourself. You're still in the process of creating yourself on a daily basis. And yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your journey towards your own healing? You mentioned you come from a place of pain and into a place of power. What does that journey of healing look like?
Absolutely. So, Mark, I think like I mentioned on Friday, I had grace for myself, but my journey on healing also taught me how to have grace for others. So I was 5 when my parents sent me to boarding school in Cape Town, and I think I mentioned this last time. And as a result, I developed this great fear of abandonment and a fear of rejection. And growing up and just growing up, I tried to fill it with so many different things. I started smoking in grade 10, and it was drinking, and it was promiscuity, and it was, dabbling in drugs. But my drug of choice really became food. I would run to, I was sharing with a couple of my ladies. I've got a group called Brave Hearts on Facebook. And I was just sharing with them about how food for me has not just been food, it's been a place of refuge and comfort, a place where I would run to find acceptance and approval. And I realized that I was slowly killing myself. And so in 2013, when I started this journey, I initially thought it was just a weight loss journey, but I'm realizing that all of us are just on a healing journey, whatever it is that we are facing, or whatever it is that we've placed into our shadow and cast away there, and that we're too terrified to look at. That is where our healing lies. I had to look at the dark spaces, the places that I never wanted to look at. I didn't want to revisit them, because revisiting them meant revisiting that rejection, that abandonment. I now understand that my parents were doing their absolute best. It was a privilege to have been in the place that I was in, but 5-year-old me did not understand that. And I also had to learn how to go back to that place of where I was 5 and validate my experience and tell 5-year-old me, my inner child, that I hear you. Your experience is valid. I see you, and I will never abandon you. And I was telling somebody recently that it almost felt like I had to fight myself to free myself. And it blows my mind that sometimes you have to fight yourself to free yourself. You have to fight the places that you find comfort in. I had to fight the story and the narrative that I was clinging onto, because my inner child was clinging onto that weight. It was clinging onto that story, clinging onto that narrative, because for some reason I found safety in that limiting belief. I found safety in the comfort that was actually holding me back. And I had to fight myself to free myself. And I had to really learn how to embrace all of my big emotions. That is why on Friday I could recognize that my big emotions are coming up. My sadness is coming up. This discomfort is coming up, and learning just to sit with it and self-soothe and self-care, and hold space for myself. And sometimes it's just bearing non-judgmental witness. In the past, I would have to have a reason for feeling a certain way, but now I'm just okay with the fact that these emotions are here, and allow them to just peacefully wash over me and pass through. And another thing that I really had to learn on this journey is not to gaslight myself. And I know there's a big talk on, don't let people gaslight you. And I was like, yes, including yourself. I would sometimes be like, it's not that big a deal. And you're making more of this than it really is. But sometimes it is a big deal. If it feels like a big deal to me, it is a big deal. And if it feels major to me, it is major. And I'm allowed to feel those feelings without me downplaying them and without me gaslighting myself. And all of that has taught me that every person walking this earth's surface, first of all, doesn't have everything figured out, so I don't need to either. And secondly, that we're all just trying our best. And especially right now, in the middle of this pandemic, we are absolutely, everybody's trying our best. And everybody's best looks different from mine, which has really increased my grace, compassion, and empathy for myself, but most importantly for everyone else too. And it teaches me to hold space for myself and also to hold space for others. I was driving the other day and I got to a four-way stop, and I know I got there first and it was my turn to go, and this guy just went and then he flipped me off, and I was like, you know what? For all I know, he is experiencing so much grief and loss, and this is the only way he knows how to feel. Like, I don't need to hoot back. I don't need to flip him off back. And sometimes you can fight a war in the opposite spirit. You can fight hate with love. You can fight pride with humility, and you can fight misunderstanding with grace and understanding.
I can hear you've been doing inner child work, and finding that little girl and saying, I see you, my darling. I hear you, my darling. What would you like to say to me? You know? And how many of us actually find that 5-year-old and actually listen, what is it? And to find, actually come to that realization that it was fear of abandonment. And you go through your whole life and we don't even know that there's this little 5-year-old that's crying for attention, that wants something that we're not giving it. And then when we find that 5-year-old, and we can say, all right, now what is the situation? And you spoke about food, and you spoke about all these other things. And I can tell you, my life, I'm extremely addictive. And when lockdown happened, I put on 10 kilograms because I was eating because I was afraid. I was just eating because it was comforting, you know, in a very strange, horrible, but you know, you're right. Mr. Bob Marley said, none but ourselves can free our minds. And we have to do the work like you are doing the work. And it's an encouragement for all of us to be doing the work on ourselves, because no one else is going to really do it for you. And so what kind of practices would you encourage or do you enjoy that promote your healing? Could you share with us?
Definitely. I think, honestly, Mark, if I did, I was similar to you. Initially, I also just gained so much weight because healing, first of all, isn't linear, it's circular. I have thrown away the concept of linear anything almost. I'm understanding that almost everything in life is just circular, and you come back to these places just, first of all, so that life can show you how far you've come, and life can take you to a deeper place of healing. But if I did not have the tools that I have, that I'm deeply grateful for, then I don't think I would have been able to hold myself the way I'm able to hold myself right now. The first one is one that you mentioned, which I'm definitely tuning in for tomorrow, which is your session on breathing. Breath is absolutely life. And though I'm not trained in breath work, I have just learned to when there's nothing else, I always have my breath. I always have my breath. And the one technique I've learned to use is the 4-7-8, which is just breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 7, and breathing out for 8. And it sounds almost too simple, but I feel like it's the simple things in life that truly hold us. So that's the first one. The second thing is meditation. Meditation saved my life, and meditation was something that I feared deeply because I also come from a deeply religious background, and I was just told, you know, do not do that. But all I understand now is meditation gives you that ability to be still, to be mindful, to honor my body, to honor my mind, to honor my soul, but it gives you one of the biggest gifts in life, which is the generous present moment. And I understand now that when I enter the present moment, which meditation helps me to do, I am always safe in the present moment. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what's going to happen when I walk out of here. Anything could happen. And I no longer can change the past. But I do know that as I sit here talking to you, Mark, I am safe. I am absolutely safe. Right now, I am abundant. Right now, I have everything that I need. And meditation gives me the gift of the generous present moment. And the third thing is journaling. I think I mentioned last time, it feels like when I journal, it feels like God, source, life, the universe, and my highest self, which is the part of me that knows that I am this multidimensional, amazing being, and never forgets it, and is always there to remind me. And myself, it feels like the three of us sit down in communion. That's what journaling feels like. And we commune, and I get to hear from that part of me that believes in me and doesn't stop rooting for me, and from life that is always supporting me. And then I have conversations with myself. And I once mentioned that to somebody, and I was like, well, they were like, well, that sounds a bit ridiculous. And I was like, well, we're all constantly having conversations with ourselves, you know, whether it's like, you know, you're thinking about what you're needing to do and the kids and all of these different things. But I have intentional conversations with myself where I, you know, especially now in the chaos where I can become that calm, confident voice to myself, and where I can speak life to myself, and where I can speak truth to myself amidst everything else, and becoming that calm, confident voice for myself in internal dialogue and internal conversation. So those are the practices and the tools. And last week, Monday, I mentioned that I guard my mornings. The first 1 to 3 hours of my day, I will not reach for my phone. In fact, I'll put my phone onto flight mode, and I will establish in that time what the absolute highest version of myself will be for that day. How can I be a light? How will I honor my soul plan and my journey on this earth by showing up? And who will I be so that I'm not shaken, so that when I do walk out my front door and if a taxi zoots past me, if I get that angry phone call, if those bills, need to be paid, and all of this, because even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, we still have life, we still have, homes to take care of and everything. And as a result, I've just learned to decide before anyone else decides for me who I will be on every single day.
You've given us a real path here: breath work, meditation, journaling, and having those conversations with yourself, which is really introspective. Tomorrow we actually will be doing the 4-7-8 technique, so that's we're on the same page. That's a very powerful breathing technique, and I can't wait to share it with everyone. Meditation, yeah, absolutely. And I find with meditation, I practice it daily, is that it starts having a thing like introspection where I realize I am anxious, and then there's a part of my mind that says, no, you are having a feeling of anxiety, but you are not anxious, and then so you start to like look at yourself and have that conversation with yourself. Is this really who you are? Do you believe your thoughts? Do you have to believe every single thought that you have? And am I my thoughts? And these are like some seriously powerful conversations that start to happen when we do get into meditation. There's been so much loss and grief at this time. I mean, what is your feeling around trying to maintain some resilience and being who you are around all of this loss and this grief?
My view around loss and grief at the moment is we grieve deeply because we loved deeply. And I think that there's a beauty. There's a beauty in that. There's a beauty in understanding that we have such a deep ability to love that when we lose somebody close to us, we grieve and it breaks us. And I think that that's really something beautiful about the human species. We don't just move on and, just keep it together, that we allow ourselves to feel that sadness. And so I really do find a certain sense of beauty, like it's like a sad beauty, but a beauty in that. And the other thing, my other view is that my way of grieving and experiencing loss does not have to look like anybody else's. And I think we just need to give ourselves the permission to grieve the way that we need to grieve. And for some people, that means maybe showing up and maybe finding that meaning and that purpose and being a light to others so that they can come through. And maybe for others, it's just sitting with that anger, understanding that anger is not bad. Maybe it's sitting with that sadness, and just for each person to honor their own path through this. And it's extraordinary right now, Mark, to be honest. Like life is changing minute to minute to minute, and we just need to allow our bodies and ourselves to go through it. And I think my final thought is just feel all your feelings. There is no such thing as a bad feeling. Feel them, allow them to move through you, and allow them to do what they do best, which is deliver a message and help you heal.
I feel like you're talking directly to me today. you know, I lost a lot of my family. They moved, they immigrated from where I'm staying, and it's been really hard because we were neighbors. And I went through these feelings of anger and despair and sadness. And, you know, I was saying, I'm not allowed to feel these feelings, and it's causing complications for others. But I came to this journey, I came to a point where I realized that it's okay if I was angry, if it's okay if I was sad. And by being recognized and being, for others people to say, yeah, it was fine, and we went through it, and it was grief. And that's what grief looks like. So it's okay. It's okay to be kinder to ourselves. It's okay to understand that if somebody in our space is not behaving in the way that we expect them to, they may just be grieving. They may be in a process of grief. And I think we all are. I'm going to take us now just into a short little practice, and then we end the session for today. Thank you so much, Hermine. You've given us, once again, beautiful practice. You shared with us. Let us move into just a short little practice. Sitting comfortably where you are. Let's take in a lovely deep inhalation, breathing in. And release out the mouth. We are practicing a short little pause. And I'd like to encourage that we just stop and do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Let's take in another deep breath, breathing in and out. And opening your eyes. I have a student that said to me, Mark, you've given me 3 seconds of nothing. I said, 3 seconds? He said, yeah, before I respond to someone, I give myself 3 seconds. So you give yourself 3 seconds, you give yourself a minute, you give yourself 3 minutes. I like to remind myself by just drawing a little pause button on my thumb that I can push pause and I can take a break any time of the day. If I want to lie on the couch like Hermine did on Friday afternoon because she was tired, then do that. Go out, sit in the sun, get some vitamin D in your body. It's good for the immune system. Also, plant-based foods also boost the immune system, and a lot of research is coming out about that. So sunlight and some vitamin D. We've had a wonderful session with Hermine once again, an absolute angel of light. I know we're going to be doing more work together. I'm so proud of the person that you are, and thank you for your time and for being with us on this platform. What a beautiful person. Friends, we will be back tomorrow for breath work. We're going to be, Hermine said she's going to join, she's going to be breathing with us. We're going to be doing some breath work and something to help with grief, anxiety, worry, panic, loss, all of that, because our body's feeling it too. So we can be kind to our bodies and give ourselves a break. All the sessions are recorded and uploaded, so you can share them with your friends, your family, whomever. Take care of yourselves, and much love to all of you at this very, very difficult time. Be safe and be at peace. Take care. Bye now.